What's up? We are back after a
Oh,
long time away.
long break. It's been
Yeah.
a month. I think it's been a month.
I think it's been even more than a month, honestly. I think the last thing we talked about was Venom, which was maybe a month and a half ago.
Ooh, yeah, you might be right because we never
Yeah.
didn't get to do Dune. We didn't do Eternals.
Yeah. We missed a. I. We did. No, we didn't do Eternals in proper. We did your review of Eternals because you saw it early, so
Yeah,
you didn't really review it. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
am kind of disappointed we didn't talk about Dune though, because were you a fan of the original?
No, I don't like any version of Dune. I don't like that. I just don't like that world in general. I just think the whole universe that Frank Herbert created sucks. But and yet I love this Dune.
Right? Yeah,
This is
I
the
couldn't
only
stand.
version of it that I've ever liked.
I couldn't stand the original. I tried to read the book, couldn't get into it. It's
Yeah,
just too hyper complicated. And I even after I watched this one, because Angela, my wife, is a huge fan
yeah,
of the original Dune. She loves Son of Dune. That's why she loves James McAvoy because he was in some version of it in 2000. And I just never could get into it. And I always assumed it was those early 80s movies with horrible effects. If you weren't into them when you were a kid, you can't get into them now.
can't
Like
get
that
in.
nostalgia is not there, so you can't embrace it. Excalibur's like that for me. As much as I should love Excalibur, I didn't get into it as a kid, so I can't get into it now. But yeah, Dune was that way. But I sat down and watched it, and I was blown away. I was like, I love this world they create here. I mean, obviously, same problem as everybody else. I was a little jilted by the part one of it all, but just kind
Yeah,
of stops right before it gets going. But
I actually like that though. It didn't bother me. I thought it would, but it really didn't. Since I knew a part two was coming, it didn't.
mm,
And besides, to me, this felt like I mean, it felt like the first chapter of something in a good way.
yeah,
Kind of like how Star Wars feels like the first chapter of something. I mean, that movie ends as open ended as possible,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so
you're
does this.
right.
So does this one. And when I finished watching this, I felt like I was like, I told the publicist afterwards, like, this feels like when I watch Star Wars, and it kind of feels that way to me,
Hmm.
and that's a good thing. Like for Star Wars, back when I loved Star Wars, not like Star Wars now, and I watch it, I'm like, okay, it's over. But no, I mean, this felt epic in that kind of way, like it was setting up something huge that's going to last a really long time. So
Yeah,
I was very happy with it, very happy with it, to finally find a way. Dennis Villeneuve found a way to make me like Dune,
yeah,
and it's not easy to do. It's not an easy story to like bring people into and have them, be invested in, especially if they never did before. But he found
right.
an easy way for it to happen. So
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. And I'm happy the response to it has been pretty good for the most part in terms of like critical reaction, and even box office has been pretty good. So
Yeah. I
I'm
mean, the
happy.
Star Wars analogy is actually pretty damn on point. I hadn't even thought about that, but even ending with your hero's first test, really, where Luke's the Death Star, and in this case, it's defeating. I haven't watched it enough times yet to remember everybody's name, but to
Yeah,
join the Fremen, I guess is where it is. But I got to put it half in Denny Villeneuve's like vision and the way that his visuals, because he's obviously an amazing visual filmmaker,
yeah.
but also in his casting, because with political intrigue, stuff like this on a foreign planet where you have no point of reference, if you don't have extremely charismatic actors playing those roles, you're up a creek. But
Well, I mean, how awesome was Jason Momoa in that movie? I mean,
Jason
Jason Momoa was
Momoa,
incredible in
even
that movie.
everybody was
Even
awesome
like
in that.
Timothy Chalamet, and I do not like Timothy Chalamet.
I wasn't a fan up until I saw this, but he didn't seem like such a little like frail tree. I guess that was going to blow over in a second.
Well, I at least like that they could make fun of him for it. Like Jason Momoa's character makes fun of him for kind of a little bit for not having any muscles. So I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they could acknowledge that he doesn't look like a typical hero like Momoa's character does. So so yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of things like about the movie. But here's what I want to know: what, so you didn't get a chance to talk about this either. How do you feel about Ghostbusters Afterlife?
That's where I was getting ready to go. I was going to say the other big one. I have no problem admitting I cried like a baby at the end. I think it's far enough to go to do some spoilers. I think Jason Reitman just showed the absolute best judgment in bringing Egon back there. And the second that he brought it, I mean, obviously his presence or whatever is felt throughout the whole thing, but seeing McKenna Grace's character sitting there struggling with the proton pack and then the ghost hand coming around. I mean, that's the kind of moment that movies
Yeah,
are
that was
made
very.
for.
That was
But I liked it a lot. I mean, it accomplished the capture the Goonies thing everybody was going for. I think I always thought that it was going to be the type of movie that you need to manage your expectations. If you go in expecting the same feeling you got in 1984, or if you're looking for Venkman's smart alegory or whatever like that, you're not going to get the original Ghostbusters much. You're not going to get that same feeling. But if you go in liking the world that it's in, then you could be okay. And they proved good for me. I mean, I think Finn Wolfhard didn't have much to do, but other than that,
well, I mean, I feel like no, you're not going to get the original Ghostbusters for very long in this, right? That's not what this movie is. What I liked about it, and I really did like it a lot, and I went in there with a lot of resentment towards it because I liked the 2016 movie too. Like that movie kind of got the shaft, and I feel like Jason Reitman was a part of that a little bit too, going into this movie when he commented about, oh, this is us handing the franchise back to the fans, which really meant he's handing it back to a bunch of dudes. That's really what he meant, which was always interesting to me because
I mean, McKenna Grace is your lead, and then
that's kind of what I was going to come back to. But it was interesting that he said something like that because, I mean, what's a true Ghostbusters fan, honestly? Like the franchise has not thrived in 30 years.
There's no Ghostbusters con. It's
right. There's no love for Ghostbusters like that. People love the first one. Most people just dislike the second one. And I mean, there are a couple cartoons, there's some comics, but there's no like die-hard Ghostbusters gigantic fan base out there.
It's a second or third tier fandom. Like the people that are Star Wars nerds or Star Trek nerds will also like Ghostbusters. It's an also like people love it, but it's an also love. It's not their primary.
Right, and so it's like you're going to give it back to the fans. What, like all 30 people? I mean, I don't understand who that is. It's like that's a kind of a ridiculous thing to say. But I know what he was trying to get at, and I didn't really like it. But he kind of tricked those people too, because then he went and made McKenna Grace the driver of the entire narrative of the movie, which I thought was great. But I also felt like each character in the movie kind of represents an aspect of the original Ghostbusters. So like McKenna Grace's character, she kind of represents the Egon of the group, and Finn Wolfhard is the ladies' man or wannabe ladies' man, kind of smart aleck. He's kind of the Bill Murray, and then you got Podcast, who's
the nerdy one,
the Ray Stantz of the group, and then you got the black girl's name, whose name I don't remember, which kind of Celeste O'Connor's character, who's sort of the down to earth character, which is sort of like the Winston character. And I'm not saying that because they're both black, but they're both really kind of grounded and realists,
right?
Which is what their characters are. So there's aspects of the original Ghostbusters in this new generation of Ghostbusters, which I think is a really nice way of doing it. And in terms of going overboard with nostalgia, I know a lot of people didn't like that, but I mean, I don't know, if you're going to make this kind of movie, you kind of want to do that. You kind of want to go in on the nostalgia, and I think they did it in a way, and I think the box office proves that, and the general response to it proves it. You want to do it in a way that embraces the longtime fans, but also introduces new people, so they don't feel like they're lost when they're trying to watch it. And I think this did that. So I really like Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm happy to see it doing well, and I want to see it again. I haven't had a chance to yet, but I do want to go see it again.
I got the feeling watching it that there were a bunch of little things I only caught a few like winks to the audience throughout, like the taxi driver skeleton from the first movie shows up in the diner when everybody's released. But yeah, I didn't get the nostalgia. The people that were hammering it on nostalgia, I feel like that's just a go-to argument for anything that's a remake or a late-term sequel.
Well, they did literally nothing new with the villain.
Well,
the villain is essentially the same.
Yeah, I mean, the process is the same, but to me that makes sense. It's like, okay, you got a villain, this is how she gets loose. But I didn't see it as egregious as, say, Force Awakens, where it's literally the same movie, where everybody meets up the same. Like, it made sense to me in that, Egon went back to this farm and devoted his life because they never finished their first battle, truly. So he was back there, making sure the gates stay closed. and then when she gets loose, it kind of makes sense. A door only unlocks one way usually, so that kind of made sense to me. I think I could have done without the Stay Puft because that really didn't have anything to do with. Like, I get why they put it in, but if you look at the original movie, that all had to do with what Ray thought. It had nothing to do with them.
They put it in there for marketing with Walmart.
Well, yeah, of course, and to sell little adorable Stay Puft Baby Yoda type figures. But in terms of the story,
in an aisle full of Baskin Robbins ice cream,
yeah,
and they have the Baskin Robbins promotion going now too.
Yeah.
By the Ghostbusters flavor of ice cream, so it's like, oh, this is all product placement everywhere around here, but that's okay. I don't really care about that stuff like some people do.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's a Walmart, so if they focus on certain things and make their money, whatever. But so the Stay Puft could have gone, but I mean, the main thing to me is like the 2016 Paul Feig version. I thought was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't in the same tone as the original, in that there was no real horror aspect to it. At least not that I remember. I haven't watched it in a while. But there's some scenes in this one, and they're few and far between. But there are some scenes that are genuinely, unsettling. When Carrie Coon first gets possessed by the gatekeeper, and stuff like that. There's some actual horror aspect, which there was in the original Ghostbusters as well. And the 2016 was more cartoony, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but it was more on the comedy side than the horror side.
Playing to the strengths of its stars. I mean, it was for comedians. So I mean, it was good as a movie that played to its strengths, and those are Paul Feig's strengths too. So
yeah, I get that. I'm just saying that I can see how people could be a fan of one and not the other, because it is different tone.
I can see that too. I can see why one would be a fan of one and not the other. But I'm only referring to the people that were a fan of it just because of who started it.
We've talked about that before. It took me months to believe that was actually even going on, and not because I'm a denier or anything like that. Just because I find it really hard to believe that people can base their like, I was playing Tomb Raider this morning. I ran out of games to play. I was like, let me try Tomb Raider. I loved Uncharted, and I'm sitting there playing, and I thought, I can't believe people would actually not play a fun game because the lead character has a ponytail and boobs. What's the difference? And it doesn't compute with me. So I've never been able to understand it, and it still doesn't make sense to me.
It's ironic that we're kind of talking about this because before I logged on, I was working on my real action for this month, and the movie that I'm doing is The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Gina Davis, nice.
Gina Davis at the time, action movies with female leads were super rare. I mean, you had Sigourney Weaver and Linda Hamilton, but they never really parlayed that into action movie careers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like Gina Davis, she had like this, not necessarily an outlier, but it sort of was. She's not someone you never normally would expect this kind of movie. And a lot of the reason why people think the movie didn't do as well as it did was because it didn't have a male lead in it. It had a female, and a lot of critique out there, and I would agree with it for the most part, says that one, men don't want to watch a woman be as badass as a guy, and two, women don't want to see women portrayed as badasses either. So at least not on the big screen, and I would agree with that. At least back then, back in 1996, I changed somewhat, especially the latter point. I think there's still a lot of guys who don't want to watch women be badass, but
don't get it.
But
if I get somebody that can fight my battles for me, the more the better. I'll be lazy.
but yeah, so it's kind of ironic, and that we're talking about this thing, and I think that really affected that movie too.
Yeah.
By the way, watching it again, that movie's a fucking classic, man. God damn it.
It's the original Bourne. I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time, but that's how I always remember it. Like, Secret Agent,
man.
The scene when she first starts remembering, and she's in the kitchen and she's chopping up the tomatoes.
That's my favorite scene in the movie. That's my favorite
so good,
movie, man. When she's like, "I'm a chef," and just
chopping stuff up. Julianne, and Samuel L. Jackson was awesome in that too, if I remember correctly.
That's he said that's his favorite character, right? That's his favorite.
Did he really?
Yep.
I always figured it would have been the guy from The Shadow, or not The Shadow, The Spirit.
He loves Mitch Hennessy. That is his favorite character. He did a list of like his favorite characters. Like,
that's saying something because he's played like 10,000 characters.
I know, and at this point he had played Jedi and all sorts of other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch Hennessy, that's his guy, and I can see why. Mitch Hennessy's fucking cool as hell. Like,
yeah.
He's not typically cool. Like, he's cool in some aspects, but I don't know. He evolves throughout the movie. Like, he's the guy who will help you. He seems like he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's shady for a lot of it, and then like right around the halfway point, he kind of changes. At the same
Hmm.
time, she changes because this is like Long Kiss Goodnight is like two separate movies. It's literally exactly 120 minutes long. At
Hmm.
exactly the 60-minute point is when Samantha becomes Charlie.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Oh wow,
it's exactly at 60 minutes.
that's got to be
So
by
it's like
design.
it has to be, and of course it
Yeah.
was written by Shane Black. One of the
Oh,
best.
that's right.
Shane Black, and
Man, it's
directed
just.
by Rennie Harlan, who did Die Hard too.
Hmm.
That was Gina Davis's husband at the time. Remember they did
Cutthroat
Cutthroat,
Island.
Cutthroat Island right before this,
Ugh.
and Cutthroat Island, I believe, is one of the reasons why this movie did not succeed because people were like, "Yeah, but y'all did Cutthroat Island like last year."
Yeah. I mean, that was bad, but Rennie Harlan will always, no matter what he does, one scene, the most what the fuck scene in the history of cinema ever for Die Hard 2, when we're introduced to William Sadler's character and he's just doing butt naked taekwondo in his room and it's just the camera's like lingering on him for 5 minutes. I'm like, this is not a badass entrance for your villain. I'm sorry.
Rennie Harlan, man, that guy did Adventures of Ford Fairlane also.
Oh, the Bruce Willis movie?
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, Andrew Dice Clay. That's right.
Yeah, that was it. He
I was
also,
thinking Hudson Hawk.
yeah, and he did Cliff Jumper with Sylvester Stallone also. So.
So you're still doing the real action. It's good. Last time we talked, I thought you said you were doing your last one. So
Oh no! I'm still doing it every month, man.
nice, and that's at joeblow.com, right?
I said Joe Blow. This is actually my second year of it because last year I was doing the last Boy Scout at this time of year because I was doing Christmas then, and now
Oh,
I'm doing
right.
this one was set at last Long Kiss Goodnight set at Christmas too. So I'm going to figure out what my next year's Christmas movie will be.
Well, I mean, just go with Shane Black. He's got a list of everything you can do.
The camera went out, so
Yeah. Yeah, I see. We got your name up there. People can imagine what you look like for a little bit.
yeah, it'll be back in a second.
So yeah, I mean that's Ghostbusters, Eternals came out, Dune. There's been so much going on, but we also have some. Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah.
We also have some new release movies. Now we want to talk kind of in detail about House of Gucci, Encanto, and Bruised, the new Halle Berry movie. A couple other things came out this week. One of which I didn't know if you had seen yet, but 8-Bit Christmas. Did you check that out?
No, but I saw the trailer for it, and I posted the trailer for it on the site, and I didn't watch the movie. Was that this week? That came out this week?
Yeah, it did. I actually just caught it this morning. So if we didn't have a write up, I think I should be able to do that this afternoon. But it is so much fun. Just to give a quick, it's basically Neil Patrick Harris. It's a narrative framed by him telling his daughter a story about how he wanted to get a Nintendo, and it is the classic. A Christmas Story, Red Ryder BB gun meets the Goonies, One-Eyed Willie's Treasure. It's this kid in a very stereotypically 80s community and his plight to get a Nintendo. It's Jingle All the Way, but way better. It's even got everybody's the guy that plays the dad better than anybody else these days. Damn it! And now I blanked on his name. Steve Zahn. Plays the grumpy dad better than anybody else. You got Steve Zahn in there, and it's just so much fun. And then Resident Evil also came out this week, which I don't think anybody was really clamoring for.
I haven't seen it yet. I almost paid to go see it yesterday, but I was like,
Part of me wants to, but I had thought originally that this was going to be a series, and I was all for that. But when I found out it was another movie, I was like, yeah,
Well, I believe they're actually making a series of Resident Evil, but yeah, this is a new movie franchise. I want to see it just because it's got Kaya Valerio in it. You know how I feel about her.
It's good.
So I kind of want to see that for that reason.
And Robbie Amell, who's Robbie Amell is one of those guys that's had a pretty stellar career under the radar. We were just watching this. The other thing we were watching this morning is When We First Met. Did you ever see that movie? Alexandra Daddario and Robbie Amell, and then that annoying dude that plays from Pitch Perfect. I always forget his name because I don't like him. He plays Bumper in Pitch Perfect.
Oh, that guy.
Workaholics guy. Yeah, him.
Adam Devine.
Adam Devine. Yeah.
Yeah,
we were watching that movie this morning.
When you said Pitch Perfect, I thought you were going to say the Utkarsh guy, the Indian guy who's.
Oh,
shit. I find him annoying a lot of the time too.
No, Adam Devine. I find him annoying. I think mostly because I still laugh at him. Like everything in my brain says I should not laugh at this guy. I should not like this guy, but he still makes me laugh, which annoys me even more. But yeah,
he's got a face that's annoying.
I
So
think that's what it is. He's total
yeah,
like he's the caricature of a frat boy, you know.
he's got a face. But I think at some point, assuming it stays in theaters another few days, like maybe
Hmm.
for another week, then I might manage to go see it. I can't see it the next 3 days. I got screenings every day the next 3 days. So,
Yeah.
but after that, if it's still there, I might find a way to go and see it.
We'll see. I mean, it seems more
Uh,
actiony, but you know,
I mean, it's more like the video game than the previous movies were, which weren't like the video games at all.
yeah.
So, I mean, I guess there's that going for it, but I've not heard one good thing about it.
Neither have I. I mean, it's got a 24% right now on Rotten Tomatoes, so I guess that's not the worst you can get.
Pretty bad though.
And it's pretty bad though. But yeah.
Pretty bad. And
Um,
but then again, I always wonder how many of those people like actually played the Resident Evil games, and how many people come into that sort of thing prejudged, because I think we all
yeah.
were kind of like, really, another Resident Evil already? The other one just ended. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know anybody who walked into this who's going into this with a positive attitude.
Yeah, it hasn't been long enough to warn people. And there's, you know, the relaunch, the games going on right now have nothing to do with the original storyline, really. So you got nothing to go with it. But on to the more quality films, I guess you could say, of the week. Where do you
Well, I
want to
mean,
start?
I'm actually enjoying just talking, man. I don't even really want to do a review. Let's just keep talking.
Hey, I'm
How's
good with that.
how's this award season been for you so far?
Dude, I can't stand the way call me spoiled, but I love receiving the DVDs in the mail. It's everything's been screening links, and I actually had to go through my email box the other day and just clear everything out because I was missing so many screening links because I have so much junk mail coming in, and they're not like tagged with anything that you could notice them. But all the screeners are coming in with screening links that I've got. Of course, I'm not on that tier like Travis is, folks out there that I get boxes of gifts and
Oh man.
accoutrements sent out to me. Oh, here we go.
Oh man. I mean, yeah. You want to talk about boxes of gifts, man?
Yeah, now I've never seen one of those. I
Let
haven't
me
even
show
got
you
any books this year. And
me
I always love my books.
let me show you what this is. All right.
Mm.
The Harder They Fall trading card set.
Okay.
Yeah. Comes with a Harder They Fall flask.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool.
that's pretty awesome.
It's got the screenplay in here as well on a hard card cover, and Harder They Fall bandana. So
Why aren't you wearing that right now?
because I look terrible on it. But yeah, I've actually got. If you could see my room, you'd see an entire corner of my room is stacked with boxes, like 3 high.
Oh man.
The stuff that's got. And the thing is, though, it started off very slow. There was nothing for a while,
Hmm.
a very long time. But over the last 2 weeks, it's like every day. And the problem is, I'm part of 3 prominent groups:
Yeah.
HCA, CCA, and LAFCA.
Hmm.
So I get like 3 times of everything.
Wait, you
Or
have
at least-
gifts to give
or at
out?
least 2 times of everything, because LAFCA doesn't get as much. But like at least 2 of everything.
Yeah, well, you have Christmas gifts to give out then for everybody. You're never shorting for something unique to hand out to people.
That's
Hey,
what.
you know the coffee table
Right.
books they send. Yeah, we can't talk about what you actually do with them. The coffee table books they send. I've always thought they send, and it blows my mind because you know Travis, guys, he's on. He does TV, he does all these different radio shows. He writes, like he says, on 3 different things. I do 1 radio station in Southern Maryland, or 2 radio stations in Southern Maryland, and this podcast. And they still send me these big books that must cost at least $15 to make. And I mean, they would retail for probably $100 in the store. That is the only time I realized just how much they spend on marketing in Hollywood for some of these things. I mean, to send that stuff. Oh God, they send so much stuff out. But yeah, I mean, award season's been frustrating with all the screening links, and then I finally got 2 big packages of screener DVDs to watch, and of course they came from Amazon and Netflix, both of which I have subscriptions to. So, but it's been good. You know, I always love this time of year. It's fun for everything. You know, I've been having to step back a little bit this year, so it's a nice chance for me to catch up and get into a bunch of stuff. Obviously, I'm loving Hawkeye. You know,
I
I guess
feel
we
bad
talk about
that I
that.
didn't review that. I probably should have. I just got so busy that I couldn't add one more thing to do.
Mm.
Because I got the screener like everybody else, and I watched the first 2 episodes and really enjoyed them both.
Yeah, they were good.
I like them because they fit the character so well. That's one of the things Marvel's really good at is making shows that fit their characters. And this is like I described it when before it came out as like it looks like it's going to be Die Hard in the MCU, and that's awesome.
Hmm.
But it's actually more like, and I said this too. It's actually more like The Long Kiss Goodnight,
Yeah.
or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in the MCU. Probably more Kiss Kiss Bang
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah. I'd go that way. Yeah.
Say at Christmas. It's got the two-person dynamic. It's actually really fun. I think it's more like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang in the MCU, which is, if you're gonna do a Hawkeye series, that's the way to go about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you even got the added Christmas trope of guy that's just trying to get home to his family. I think Jeremy Renner is so good at playing a dad. He's so natural in those scenes. Like, whenever he's sitting around the table talking to his kids and everything, he's so natural in that position that it's really believable that he's really this world-saving superhero who's also a regular dad.
It'll be a shame when Black Widow kills him.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you don't think that's how this is going to end, do you?
I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of hopes it does. But,
I can't kill Hawkeye. They've given us too much into his family.
He sure as hell can kill Hawkeye.
No, we watched him sit down at a table with his kids.
The final episode should end with her just like tossing a Molotov cocktail in their house, and the whole thing blows up, and everybody
in their house on Christmas morning.
Everybody's inside.
You have a dark, dark heart, my friend.
The final image is like a burning arrow, like one arrow that's left standing, like it's on fire.
That's
and like
so wrong.
The final image of the final episode.
That's so wrong. Yeah, and Haley Steinfeld, I didn't have any doubt. It's still hard for me to believe some days that she's that same little girl that was in True Grit that blew all of our minds years ago. But she's so good, and she's not just like the pretty face and young starlet. She's really good at putting out the the sarcastic tone and the comedy she puts in everything. I mean, there's one scene in the first episode where she's basically infiltrating a black market auction, and she says she's posing as a waitress, and she says, "Oh yeah, Gary sent me down here," and it's like, "Who are you?" "Well, I'm Gary," and then she does this whole little bit like, "Well, this is what's wrong. This is why I quit," and it's just stuff like that. She's so good. I can't help but to love it.
Yeah, I mean, I like her too. She was not who I wanted to play that role. I wanted Haley Lou Richardson to play that role. But, but Haley Steinfeld, you can't really argue with her too either. She's really good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess we should probably go into this. I was going to talk about how much I hate critics at this time of year, but
let's certainly do
that.
I've
talked about that before, though. I mean, I do hate critics this time of year. I know I'll say this every year, probably. We suck this time of year, man. We complain about everything. this time of year.
This time of year, I think that's
we do complain year round, but this time of year, especially when we're getting new free shit, people complain about the free shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the stuff that pisses me off. I'm like, y'all getting like
jaded very quickly.
I can't believe they sent me like this thing that's worth $200, but they didn't put a screener in it.
Yeah,
it's like shut the fuck up, man.
Say thank you and move on.
Shut the fuck up. It's like it's something that's probably on Netflix anyway. You can probably just watch it every. There was somebody in Wafka in particular who was whining about shit like that.
Yeah, I know what you're referencing, and it always seems to be the people that.
I can't watch it. It's on. I can't watch it. I have no way of watching it. It's like.
It's 2021. You have a way to watch anything.
It's like this. Just the tiniest amount of work you could watch anything you fucking want.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Who are you fooling?
And it's never the people that are on broadcast television or have 100,000 readers a month.
But critics will go along with it though. Like, I know, man. I can't believe they haven't sent a screener of this.
Well, that's always been my issue with critics is that they go along with everything. If a movie's stupid but good and enjoyable, they'll say it sucks because everybody else says it sucks, and they don't want to look like the outcast.
Yeah, some people do that. There are a lot of people do that. There's more that don't. There's a lot of them that do. But I just can't abide this kind of dumb bullshit. It's like, oh man, they won't send me the screener of this movie, but they'll send me this thing that's worth $200. And it's like, please be happy with the thing that you just got.
Yeah.
And shut up about the movie that you can see if you need to see it. Then all you need to do is tell someone you haven't seen it. And they will see it. Like, it's not that hard. I mean, there are very few exceptions for that are like, absolutely not. We won't do anything for you to see this movie, which is because that's not what they want. They want you to fucking see it. They will do almost anything for you to go see a movie.
Yeah, but
I mean,
that's not why they're
they'll
actually
even set
saying
up a
anything.
private screening for you to see a movie. If you don't want to watch a digital link for a movie, they'll even set up a private screening for you to see a movie.
Yeah.
Like, you see anything you want. So when critics act like that, they're just lazy, and I hate it. I hate it this time of year. It bugs the shit out of me. It's one of those things that makes me be like, I don't even like calling myself a critic sometimes because it's just like I just stuff like this it's so
You don't want to be associated with it.
It sounds so entitled.
Yeah, no,
You know?
there's definitely a lot of entitlement considering that. Look, I'm not saying there's not an art to what we do or there's not hard work in what we do or anything like that. But at the end of the day, we're looking at what other people have creatively come up with and talking about it. So it's important not to be too entitled on that. But the truth, those people, they don't really care about not getting the screener. That's their in to be able to go online to Facebook and say, look what I got, without saying, look what I got. They want to feel special.
There's a lot of that too.
Yeah.
I hate people that want to brag and show off about the stuff they got. It's just like, it's ridiculous, when people do stuff like that, when they brag and show off the things that they get that other people didn't get. I would never do anything like that,
You son of a bitch.
What are you talking about? Like, nobody should ever do stuff like that ever.
You just pulled the Wayne's World bit where he's like, I will never sell out with his Domino's and his Pepsi. How about Cowboy Bebop? Have you checked that out yet?
I've watched, I think, 3 or 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm. Were you a fan of the original anime?
It's not one of my favorite animes, but it's good.
Yeah.
I'm still undecided on how I feel about it. Like I think I was really into it the first 2 episodes. I love the style of it, but my original thought was, how long before this wears off?
Yeah.
I know it will. And so far, I think I'm around episode 4, and it's starting to get that feeling where I'm like, yeah, it's still stylish, but it's not having the same effect on me, and I don't know if I'm really digging it as much as I think I should.
That's what I was worried about. I only got through the first episode so far, but I got the real feeling, and I kind of proved it to myself because I watched the first episode on Thursday, and then while I was watching it, felt like one of those shows that I really like while I'm watching it, but I will not think about it when I'm not watching it, so I will not go back and watch the rest of it. So either binge it or not going to see the whole thing. I figured that's how it was.
It's not one of those shows that I felt like binging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not one of those shows, like, I know that show, when I find that show, I will watch it all, like, in the span of a day.
Right.
And this is not that kind of show. I'm just kind of like, I'm like spot watching it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I have an hour right now? Would I rather be playing Overwatch right now? I'll tell him, Kelly, if I watch that episode.
Right.
It's not like I'm like super excited to watch it. I'll watch it, and I'll enjoy it, and then I'll turn it off.
Yeah, it's not something that's gonna drive you toward. That's in case you're listening to Netflix. There's your poster quote right there. I'll watch it and then I'll turn it off.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's actually talk about some movies that came out because we're almost into the show already.
Well, we talked about some, but So I mean, we can start with Encanto just because I want to really hit on how happy I am that we're finally starting to explore different cultures in animation especially, but in film in general. Right now, it's in the last few years, it seems very heavy on Latin culture and Asian culture, Japanese specifically. Well, I guess Japanese and Chinese are both represented in what we've seen.
When are they going to go really heavy on white culture?
It's just not our time. It's not our time yet. We gotta be patient.
I guess.
Yeah. But what I'm waiting for is, it seems, and we've talked about this before, and I forget why, but you made fun of me for it. But seeing some Native American culture come to film because everything in there they've got such great stories and myths and characters in their lore and everything like that. But I don't think we've barely touched the surface of it. That's what it was. When I brought that up last, you said something along the lines of, because we haven't taken enough of their stuff yet, or something like that. I'm only meaning to put a spotlight on their culture, not steal further from them. but yeah, Encanto is I don't know what you thought about it. To me, it was good, just like every other Disney animated film is, but it's like a lesser Coco. The only thing I think it had, animation was beautiful. The story was great. Had a lot of good messages for families and kids. I just didn't get that song that pops out, like "Remember Me" or "Let It Go," or every one of these has that one song that really pops.
Yeah, I don't know
Um,
if it did. I don't know if it had that one song that does it, but I think I liked all the songs for the most part.
they were all good, just nothing
Yeah,
that
they're
elevated.
super catchy, which is interesting considering they were done by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Hmm.
Um, but they all had that feel of a Lin-Manuel Miranda song, and even the choreography felt like a Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah,
The way it was done, kind of like in the Heights Hamilton style, which is really great.
yeah.
Which I really liked about the film, but which is about the Madrigal family who, after a tragedy, they are blessed. Their family line is blessed with superpowers, basically.
Hmm.
So every new addition to the Madrigal clan will, at a certain age, become gifted with a special ability, which they then use to enrich their community in like this. Um, it's kind of like their own little like Nirvana. This place, this utopia.
Hmm.
Um, until the I can't remember her name, the main character in Encanto. I can't remember her name. Do you
Oh,
have it?
Mirabelle.
Maribel, thank you. When her time comes, she does not get powers, which leaves her feeling like an outcast among her family, um, and also really kind of not depressed, but uh, you know what I mean. But anyway, but it turns out she is also perhaps the only one that can save the family when there's a threat that looming that could end up taking away all of their powers, all of their gifts.
Hmm.
And thus destroying the magic in their family line. I really enjoyed this. The thing I like the most about it is the way it explores family relationships when you're the outsider and
Hmm.
you're the one who's kind of on the outside looking in. Some of those relationships are toxic, and there were some toxic relationships in the Madrigal clan. It's about forgiveness. I think I like the most that it. What I think I like the most about it is that it all takes place basically in this one place. Like
Hmm.
it takes place not just on their little their corner of the world, but basically in their house, which has like all these rooms that lead to different places. Different, almost like different lands in a sense. I thought that was really cool the way they did that, the way they portrayed that. Um, so I think that was the thing I liked the most about it. The animation is gorgeous, of course. I love what it's saying about family and how resilient it could be, but even when relationships are really, really strained,
Hmm.
as these were, um, yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. I wasn't even sure how I was going to feel about it. I don't know if I'd compare it to Coco. I think those are very different movies in terms of what they're saying
Yeah,
and
I mean they only get that comparison because they're both focused on Latin culture, basically.
Latin
But
culture. Yeah, I get that. But yeah, I think I like Encanto quite a lot, and I didn't look at the box office today, so I don't know how it did. But yeah, Encanto was really enjoyable. I hope people go and see it.
yeah, and I'm sure they will, especially this time of year is family time at the theater, so it'll get its time. And like I said, it's not one of those. It's more than one of the forgettable ones that come out. It's not one of the iconics, but it just
Encanto's
because
number
it's
one.
missing.
So.
It's number one.
Number one, $40 million. Of course, it came out on Wednesday,
Mm.
so they had $27 million then.
You're
Which
telling me Resident Evil isn't it number one?
Resident Evil is actually number five with $8.8 million.
No,
That's not great at
no,
all. That's not great.
not great.
Not great at all. Even its per site average it stinks. It's like $1,800, so it's not good
Mm.
either. Yeah, not good.
So, but then again, the Mila Jovovich films were never box office blow ups, really. I mean, they did okay, but they made all their money overseas,
They
and
did
that's
make
why we got
most of
14 million of them.
yeah, they made most of their money overseas. Number two, Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's up to 87.7 million domestic. House of Gucci is number three with 21.8. Eternals is four. Yeah. Clifford number six. King Richard seven. Dune eight. Yeah. So
Wow. Well, you already said it, House of Gucci. I've never been into the fashion world. I actually, until I saw this movie, I thought Gucci was one person, like Tommy Hilfiger. Apparently, it's an entire house.
Again, I can't believe that you're telling me you were never really into fashion. I always just kind of.
I mean, I know the blue hoodie and underlying white Hanes T-shirt would make you think otherwise, but no, I've never been a fashion guy.
That's not that's not a Gucci line.
Yeah, I not. I thought it was one guy. Honestly, I thought all these names were one guy. Which but I'll tell you what, Lady Gaga, she's right where she needs to be, because she's obviously always been a fashion icon since she's come out from wearing a meat dress to everything else she's done, and I think she's if nothing else, like I thought this was it. I don't know how true to life this movie is, but it seemed a little overly complicated and soap opera-y to me, but it may very well have been that way. I had a hard time believing it was a Ridley Scott movie watching it. But Lady Gaga just elevates again. I mean, she's one of those people that can do literally whatever she wants and be good at it.
I love Lady Gaga. I like her in this too.
Mhm.
I don't like Ridley Scott directing this kind of movie. He's got this weird fascination with family legacies, and especially the ones that end in murder. He did All the Money in the World just a couple years ago, which is also about a family dynasty that was ruined by crime, a deadly crime
Mhm.
that fell apart because of the crime. And now he's doing this. They're almost the same in some ways. The way he directs them is the same too, which is to say that he directs them, and when they're over, you just kind of like, okay, well that's done. And
On
that's
to the
sad.
next.
That's sad because I wanted House of Gucci to be a lot campier than it was, and I've been kind of weirded out by a number of critics who have lazily just called the movie campy. I don't think it's campy at all. That's the problem. If it were campy, it'd be fucking great. Jared Leto comes in there. He's trying to play campy, but then again, I don't know if he's actually trying to play campy or if he's just a shitty actor, which I think is probably
Yeah,
more
I think that's more likely.
I think it's probably more the case because every time Jared Leto does a role, he feels like he's coming in from a different movie. It doesn't matter whether it's Suicide Squad or Dallas Buyers Club or this or fucking Blade Runner 2049. He feels like he's always coming in to do something else that's not what fits for the movie. And
Somebody wrongly told him at some point that you have to be different on screen. Like you have to, that somebody wrongly told him that you have to interpret everything you read on the page. So he does that, and he just interprets it in the weirdest way possible. Um,
his
and then
role,
yeah,
his performance as Paolo in this is awful. It's awful. Like it's terrible. But it's almost in the right sense, in the right kind of movie, it would be the right kind of terrible. Like it would be, like it would be, like it's like the accents in this movie, like the Italian accents in this movie, they're all bad.
hmm,
Like they're Italian in the way that like Pizza Hut is Italian. Like they're almost Italian.
they're Mario Italian.
Right. They're like if they were Chinese food, they're like the Panda Express
Yeah,
of like
it's me, Gucci. Yeah.
right. And then like even for Gaga's accent ain't great in this either. Like
Hmm.
the accents are bad. And it's like you got Jared Leto who's like, oh, we're all doing bad accents.
Hmm.
Here, hold my beer. Here's a bad accent for you. Like everything is bad for him. But if this were like this were an Adam McKay version of House of Gucci,
No, you were right. House of Goofy.
House of Gucci. But if this were Adam McKay version of House of Gucci, his over the top performance would probably fit.
Hmm.
But I also would promise you, if this was an Adam McKay version of House of Gucci, Jared Leto would find a way to be the only one not being campy. Like he would find
Yeah, he would fit in this movie if he did
he
that.
would
Yeah.
do the opposite. He would do the different thing.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I actually quite enjoyed this. Like I was never bored. Like I know that story. I knew what was going to happen. I knew everything going on in it. I love the style of it, the production design, the costumes. I love Lady Gaga and her version of Patricia Reggiani, or whatever her name is. I always get it mixed up. Reggiani.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to say it. You're right. I would guess you're right.
Even though at the end of the movie I was unclear what her motivations were, I don't think they were very good at explaining that.
Hmm.
Like, was she a gold digger? Was she just trying to find her place within the Gucci world? Can't really tell because sometimes she's actually really staunchly defending them. Like when she found out they were selling cheap Gucci knockoffs on the street, and
Hmm.
she got really upset by it. She really wanted them to be, to stand up for their quality, only to find out that Gucci doesn't give a fuck about quality ultimately, as long as they make
Yeah.
money. So
I always
was
get the feeling that she wasn't so much a gold digger as just idolized being a part of all of that, and that's why and that's when some of the facade breaks down at certain times like that, specifically throughout the movie when they don't care about quality. This is not what I imagined it to be. And I don't really get other than Leto.
she didn't want to be seen as a cheap knockoff Gucci herself, and so she was always trying to find her place, make her place within the Gucci family, like trying to prove herself within it.
Yeah.
But to do that, she had to be as merciless as you know as some of them were, and probably as people in her family were. It was heavily implied in the movie that her family was mobbed up.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so maybe that's where she was getting it from. But I
I
wish
mean,
he could have been clearer about that.
and the
But
other
I, but
thing
I
is,
enjoyed her, and I loved Adam Driver in this. His performance is a little bit reserved.
hmm
There's a lot of it that I like, even if I think Jared Leto was crap.
hmm
Um, it's just they could have done so much more with it. And Ridley Scott is not the guy to do this movie. He directs it the exact same way he did to All the Money in the World, which nobody even remembers that movie anymore. It didn't do anything. And I'm Gucci is too flashy for that to happen. It's not
hmm
going to be forgotten the way that movie was, but it's also not going to reach the heights it probably could and should have if it was probably directed by someone else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I get the feeling sometimes that he wants to be more than what everybody associates him with. Ridley Scott. He wants to do something, but you know, like you mentioned, the campy piece I don't get, but it at the same point, like I mentioned earlier, soap opera esque is what I would call it, but not in terms of bad performance, but in terms of kind of almost unbelievable storylines that come through. I would be interested to see how much of this strikes true in real life. But at the end of the day, I feel like 2 hours and 40 minutes, two
The
hours and
broad strokes of it are true. I
yeah,
mean, the things that happen in it are true. It's just how they're portrayed. Like Paulo is nothing like the way Jared Leto like depicts him.
right.
Not like that at all. Was he kind of the oddball of the family, sort of? Maybe, but not in the way that he's portrayed in the movie. Where
Right.
he's basically like the Fredo of the family. He's not like that. He's not like
Yeah.
that. He's not like that.
I mean,
Uh, he
two
was
hours and 40 minutes though I think was long. I think there were a couple
yeah,
places.
oh
It's a
yeah,
big story with a lot
oh
of
yeah. It's
moving parts, but I think
it's
a good cut here and there would have helped it quite a bit too.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And lastly, at what 54 years old, I guess Holly Berry is now. Still looks like she's 30. Um,
Not in this movie, she don't.
no, not in this movie, but outside of it. Her first, I was
Not
kind
in
of
this movie. She looks every bit of her age in this movie.
I was kind of surprised to see that this was her directorial debut, but I guess she's never really. I mean, obviously she's never gone down that road before, but yeah, she plays Jackie Justice, a UFC fighter who's disgraced and ends up in underground, black market fighting, I guess you could say, and gets a chance to get her life back the way she had it until she finds, not finds, but until her a son she abandoned shows up, and all the fun hijinks happen from there. I guess I don't really know Holly Berry on a personal level. I was there,
What?
it's true. I don't. It's just at first I was wondering why this would be. If you waited this long to direct a movie, why would this be the one you picked? I mean, it doesn't seem like it speaks to her. But then I looked at it from another angle, and the only thing I can think of, and this isn't really a condemnation of the movie, but it's very formulaic. Like if you're going to take your first shot at directing something, it's probably best to go something that you can paint by numbers on. I mean, this, at least to me, it was very much that fighter who needs redemption and has a messed up backstory
Yeah, it's
that we've seen 100 times.
it's Southpaw. It's every sort of movie we've seen before.
Warrior, fighter, all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah, it is very formulaic. That's one of the problems I have with it. But I could also see why she would want to direct it because it's a role that allows for her to transform her body physically and do something in a physical realm that she's never had a chance to do before. So it would open her up to acclaim and possible awards for her debut.
Mm.
So I think that's probably why she did it. Now let's remember, Bruised was originally going to be a Nick Cassavetes movie with Blake Lively as the star. So this is a very different film
Yeah.
than that was going to be. Halle Berry took it over when that fell through, and she decided to take it on as a director. And of course the script was tweaked. So that's not about an Irish white woman, but about a single black woman in the hood, basically. So it's different. Um, Obviously, very different. Although, to be honest, I don't know if it changed all that much because race doesn't really factor into it as much as it probably could.
Hmm.
I just felt this movie was very bland. I think I
Yeah.
wanted for a movie about MMA, I wanted it to hit harder than it does. It really doesn't. Um, Halle Berry's fine. I don't necessarily think she's great in it. The one character I really liked in it was the girl who plays her trainer. Whose
Oh,
name
Mars. No.
is
Can't remember the
a
name.
really interesting name.
It's not. No.
I
Oh
can't
shit. Let me pull it up.
Yeah. No, I was gonna look it up to you, but you got it.
No. It's taking too long to load over here.
Oh, hold on, I'll look it up. Let me take a second.
You're not talking about Crazy Esther, are you?
What?
Nothing. It's not pulling up. Only three of the names from the whole cast pulled up over here.
No, it's fine. It's Sheila Atim. She plays Budokan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Actually, I was more trying to remember the name Budokan than Sheila Atim. But Sheila Atim who plays Budokan, who plays her trainer. I really liked her because she was like this one positive thing in her life. Like there wasn't a whole lot. Like
Hmm.
she's clearly someone who's not built to be a mother. That's why she abandoned her son to begin with. So she's got to relearn the whole maternal instinct thing. But it's something she's not natural to. Her mom is a shrew. Her boyfriend is abusive. And she's trying to get back in the ring and fight, and she's clearly out of shape and not prepared for it. Which of course is as much a metaphor for her being unprepared for life as anything else.
Hmm.
So of course she has to take life's punches so she can take punches in the octagon again too. It's the whole thing. It's the whole microcosm of life thing that all these sports dramas tend to be, and that's fine. Um, but the thing I liked about Budokan, about her being such a positive influence, they then fuck up at the end when they turn it into this ill-conceived romance thing,
Hmm.
which they did only for a momentary plot device. They did it to only add some last second drama to the championship fight, and then it was kind of tossed aside as if it didn't really matter. And I was like, y'all spent almost 2 hours building this thing just to throw it aside for this one moment,
Yeah.
and the moment was pointless. Like that thing that happened between them had no relevancy, no currency for the rest of the movie. And I was like, this movie almost does not everything wrong, but nothing good. And this was like the thing that they drastically screwed up. Like the one thing that was like really bad, like overtly bad, was
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, well, it was their one chance to be different too, right? So, I mean, I've always said, and I think we both always said on this show that formulaic isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, if you
No.
break it down, there's only 7 types of stories you can tell anyway, right? So it's about the details. It's about the performances. When you make a movie like this, it's about having somebody, like Creed. The relationship between Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone that get you through it. I mean,
Right.
those are the pieces that get you, and it's like they didn't think to do that, and it doesn't linger long enough. It doesn't decide to be about Halle Berry coming to terms with her son. It doesn't. It doesn't decide to linger on her and her abusive spouse or significant other, and it doesn't decide to be about that romance. So it just doesn't decide to do anything. So it's not bad. At no point is it bad, but it's never better than average at best.
No, I would agree. It really isn't. It's a shame too because I'm a big fan of Halle Berry. I think most people are.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see her debut behind the camera be like an unquestioned success. I really did. We're honoring her next week at the celebration of Black Cinema out in
Yeah.
Hollywood. So hopefully I'll get a chance to meet her and take a picture with her. And I
Hmm.
will try to keep the drool in my
You
mouth.
can't do that. It's Halle Berry. I mean,
Try. I'm gonna try. I kept myself from drooling when I took a picture with Nia Long.
yeah, but
Uh,
Halle Berry's another level. She's
Halle Berry
30
is
years.
Halle
That
Berry
name
is
has
another.
defined sexy for 30 years.
Halle Berry is another level. That is absolutely true. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. I hosted a trivia night, 80s movie trivia night last night at
Hmm.
the Union Street Public House, which was a lot of fun. Um, and I was talking with somebody about actresses that I've met, and and the ones that they're so pretty you can't look at them directly.
Uh-huh.
And I was talking about how like Vera Farmiga was one. Like I couldn't look at her directly. Like I just couldn't do it.
Right.
I couldn't look at Julianne. I couldn't look at Julianne Moore directly. I was like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, hey," I just couldn't
Yeah.
do it.
Because you feel like you're going to be lingering on them too long and they'll be creeped out.
Right, exactly. You don't want to be a creep.
Yeah.
I feel like if I met Charlize Theron, she would be another that I wouldn't be able to look at her
I
directly.
feel like I just give up the L and just let her think I was a creep and just stare because you're not going to be in the presence of that. And that's probably what I do for Halle Berry as well.
That's what I'm worried about. If I meet Halle Berry, I'm afraid I'll be like that too. Like I won't be able to look at her directly.
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson was so down to earth that I could.
She seems like the type that you
Super
just
personable and down to earth, and I was like, I never felt that way.
yeah.
Absolutely stunning.
Oh,
Uh,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like Halle Berry, I'm gonna be like, hey, Halle Berry, it's amazing to finally meet you. Hi.
Well, and the other thing is even being in this industry as long as you have and I have, there's still people out there. You can meet Oscar-winning directors, you can meet all these people, but there's still going to be people that literally cause you to forget to breathe for a second. Like they're just that level of stardom, and it has nothing to do with attractiveness or being sexy. It's just that level of stardom in an industry that obviously we love. Like for Argo, when Ben Affleck walked into the theater to do a Q&A, and I was just like, I mean, I had been doing this for 8-9 years at that point, and he walked in, I was just like, it's Ben Affleck. It's like you're a little kid again, all over. It's like
A couple weeks ago,
go ahead.
I was in LA for a thing for Power of the Dog, and I was in the same room with Kirsten Dunst. And
I saw that. Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst is, number one draft pick stuff.
Yeah.
Number one draft pick forever. So I was in the room. I didn't get a chance to like meet her one on one, sadly, because it was a press conference sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was meet her, but even just being like literally just a couple of feet away from her, I was like, hey, Kirsten Dunst.
it's weird, man. You revert right back into a little kid. Like the first famous person I ever met, and it's probably the coolest story ever. I used to spend summers in Boston, and my aunt was taking me back to Logan Airport to fly to DC at the end of the summer. And as I got out, who was on the area, the baggage loading area, but Macho Man freaking Randy Savage. And I was just like, I told my aunt, I was like looking at him, I was like, that's Macho Man. And she doesn't know she's like, well, let's just get his autograph. And I'm sitting there freaking out. I'm like, no, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to look like an idiot. I want to be a nerd or whatever.
Was Elizabeth with him?
What's that?
Was Miss Elizabeth with him?
No, it was by himself. But
Because Miss Elizabeth is one that I don't think I would have been able to look at directly either.
I mean, seeing those two together in 1992 is when it was. So seeing them together in front of me, I probably would have just fainted or ran the other way. I mean, that's like the height. But yeah, definitely cool stuff. But I know what you mean, reverting back. So keep us updated on that Halle Berry piece.
Trust me, if I get a picture with her, everyone's gonna know it. So, I'm not gonna not post it.
Well, if you do that, then when is that event? Is this coming week?
It's next Monday.
Next Monday. Okay, so we might have one more show before then, but the show after that, we will make that our wallpaper for the week. After that,
The Critics' Choice Association, we do our annual celebration of Black cinema. We are honoring Halle Berry this year, so yeah.
Awesome.
So it should be fun.
Yeah, no, I mean you can't choose a better person to honor.
All 10 Black film critics are going to be there. So it's going to be good.
No, you're exaggerating, right? because I always hear you and Tim Gordon say that, and maybe it's just maybe our area is different, but I'm always like, well, what are they talking about? Because there's we have we have 4 or 5 African American critics in our group, meaning our Punch Drunk Critics group, or am I just in a bubble and don't realize it?
I mean, yeah, of course, there is obviously more than 10, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a small number. And of course, when you're talking about black film critics of prominence, there's even less. So
yeah, trust me, I know what you're saying. I'm white, so
that's tough being a white film critic. Man.
It's hard. How
do you deal with it? How do you find the energy to get up out of bed in the morning?
Grit,
knowing
and
that you're a white film critic in this world.
Grit and mental toughness. It's always been hard for us, Travis. We had to learn to get a thick skin. All right. On that note, great being back here. Thank you guys all for tuning in again. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video below. If you're on YouTube or if you are listening to us on podcast form, make sure to leave a review and tell your friends because we're awesome and we're back. So we're glad to be. Anything major next week?
Sure, check out the site. We're coming into December, so it's almost kind of do our end of the year shit again.
Oh, that's right. So
can you believe it's December already?
I cannot.
Can you believe this? Can you believe that we're about to enter year 3 of COVID-19 bullshit too?
Dude, I can't even believe that it's no longer the 90s. I'm having trouble with all of this, to be honest with you.
I was at the deli this morning for brunch, and on the TV was Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which is celebrating its 20th-year anniversary today.
Kills me, man.
I was 24 when I watched that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's don't get me started because I will spiral and I'll be in a corner crying all night. When people say things to me like the one that kills me the most is if that 70s show was made today, it would be that 90s show. Stuff like that breaks my brain and makes me cry. The website where you can see all of our non-crying content is www.punchdrunkcritics.com. Make sure to check that out every day. Tons of interviews, reviews, and all other kinds of fun stuff. Keep yourself up to date with all the movie news. And if you want to make sure to get alerted whenever we have something new, make sure to follow us on Twitter at PDC Movies is a site, at Punchy Critic is Travis, and I am at Punch Drunk John. Any tips, questions, anything you want to talk to us about, input, suggestions, whatever, info at punchdrunkcritics.com. Anything major next week?
I'm not sure what's coming out next week, honestly. I honestly, this time of year, I tend to get lost.
There is a lot of stuff coming out at a lot of different times.
I got at least 5 or 6 reviews that probably need to go up that I just haven't had a chance to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like Licorice Pizza, I still haven't had a chance to finish that one yet. I'm sure we got to talk about that soon. Tragedy in Macbeth, we got to talk about that soon. Don't Look Up. Next week is the 3 movies that I got next week are West Side Story, Nightmare Alley, and Don't Look Up, which are 3 major award season movies. So we're going to talk about all this stuff. If not next week, then the week after. But it's a crazy time of year, as always.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have to have some kind of awards show at some point here, like we do every year. But I got some catching up to do before I get there. Thankfully, everything's starting to come in. So, in any event, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Until next week, I'm John.
Travis.
We're out of here.
Later.
Thanks for checking out the show. If you like what we're laying down, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest stuff.